G'day, guys, ladies and gentlemen. We're back with a chat with Jay from Australia down under with all the kangaroos and koalas, and AFL Grand Final this week with the great band Kiss playing. So you can see I love my rock and roll and all that. But enough about me. What about my great friend over Atlanta, Georgia? If I'm correct, if I'm close. No, I'm hopeless. I am. I don't know what's going on sometimes. But at the end of the day, let's talk about where this great man I've got on. He's a great friend of mine. We're both yoga practitioners. His name's Travis Mahaffey. And mate, I've had so many great contacts with Trav over the last couple of years. Actually did a co-yoga class together, didn't we, mate? I was an international yoga class. Mate, that was one of my highlights. It was so cool to do it in the time zones and all those kind of things. And why I've got Trav on, because he's made some really big changes in his life, and he's such an inspiration online. What he's been doing the last probably 5 or so years, I'd say. He's made massive changes. He's a magnificent yoga instructor, and yoga's taken over his life pretty much. And as you can see, beautiful aura, mate, and what a great friend of mine. I mean, and this is why I do what I do, because I've met so many fantastic people. I'm sitting here in Australia, and I'm talking to my friend over in the USA, and mate, it's a pleasure to have you on a chat with Jay. As a part, I'm going to tell her now, part of the 1111 Spiritual Podcast with my beautiful friend Jackie Lyons. I always give her a plug. I talked to her this morning. She loves it. So, yeah, thank you very much for coming on, Trav.
Right on, man. Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm actually from Stokesdale, North Carolina, which is about 5 or 6 hours from Atlanta, but it's okay. It's all right.
But look, I'm thinking of wrestling here. I'm thinking of Ric Flair. I'm thinking WCW Atlanta, Georgia. Now I'm a massive wrestling freak.
That's all right. Ric Flair's actually from North Carolina too. Well, he's actually from Minnesota, but he lived in North Carolina for the longest time.
He lives in North Carolina. He does, but yeah. So Trev, let's. I mean, why I got you on there, because I've seen some, especially the last 2 years, you've done so well, with helping people with yoga. We've got a lovely friend. I'm going to give her a big shout out now, Megan. Over in she's up in Queensland in Australia. And you passed her details on to me to have a chat with her, and we become good friends. And she's a beautiful person. Big shout out to you, Trav. Tell us a little bit about the floor is yours. Let's go. Tell us a little bit about your journey, my friend.
Well, kind of how it all started way back, maybe I guess 2013, 2014. Maybe my wife and my son were taking jiu-jitsu. And first and foremost, thanks for the invite, man. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, love you, mate. You know that.
But my wife and my son were taking jiu-jitsu, and so my wife started partaking in the adult fitness class, right? So they had a 90-day challenge, and she actually lost 50 pounds, right? And then so she encouraged me to join, which I was getting at that point in my life to where right as you teeter into the point to where you're going from young man to kind of switching, and your metabolism kind of changes, and you all of a sudden you blink and you've gained a bunch of weight. Well, I eventually gained up to 217 pounds, not even really realizing it. And so I soon joined the fitness class, and I lost 42 pounds myself.
Oh, well done.
So then after that, we were in the classes so much. My son was there. We were basically there 7 days a week at the gym, became really good friends with the family. And I soon became an instructor as well as my wife. We became instructors in the fitness program.
Then you did a personal training type course. Was that where you went to?
It was all in-house. It was an in-house made-up program. So how this program was created was a trainer was training his cage fighters to get their cardio increased. So this is a really intense cardio program. It wasn't yoga based or anything like that yet. So I haven't stepped quite into yoga yet, but I did lose the weight. It did make me conscious of how I was treating my body, and what I was putting in my body and all that. And then a few months later, well, I wouldn't say a few months later, maybe a year or so later, the fitness class was canceled due to the explosion of his enrollment of jiu-jitsu. So we found that we didn't have a place to train to go work out. And I'm not a gym guy. I don't want to go to the gym. I don't like to pick up heavy things and put heavy things down,
Yeah.
So I was listening to Joe Rogan and I heard Diamond Dallas Page. This was November of 2018. I
Okay,
heard
there you go.
Diamond Dallas Page talking about DDP yoga. Never heard of DDP yoga, right? Never heard of Diamond Dallas Page either at the time.
So you weren't a
So
wrestling. So you weren't a wrestling fan like me when I did it. When I went through, I saw my mate goes, "Hey, look, Dallas Page is doing yoga." I go, "Okay, I better do that." So because I was a wrestling freak and I knew exactly who he was.
yeah, no, I did not know who he was. So when I heard him and I caught him at the right moment too, because I was just kind of I don't know if it was a YouTube clip at first, and then I went back and listened to the episode. But I just heard how he blew his L4 L5 out, and that's what I did first. I blew my L4 L5, and just listening to him talking about rehabbing his body and doing things like that, I said, let me give this program a try, especially since he does 50% off for veterans, right? Military veterans,
Yes.
you get 50% off. So I did
So
that.
you are so you're a military veteran, are you?
Right, U.S. Air Force firefighter. Right.
Oh, mate, heads off to you, man. That's awesome. You
Oh,
better
thank you,
make
man.
sure that we need to hear those kind of things, man. That's great.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Made quite a few good friends. Hence the shirt. And we'll talk about that later. But
Absolutely.
so I basically gave the program a try, and I also had an issue with turning my head to the left, right, with its stiffness. Within 2 months, I had lost the stiffness in my neck, no issues. I was, wow, I feel really good doing this. So I knew that I enjoyed being an instructor and helping people in the previous classes. And if I was healing myself, I said, well, I'm going to go forward and do try to be an instructor with this. Within 2 months, I already knew I wanted to be an instructor. And then April came around, and Dallas had his birthday bash in New York, and which is also a Comic-Con, and they also did a workshop.
Yep, the New York Comic-Con. Yep, that's huge.
Right.
Those big one. Obviously, being within the cosplay community here, we always hear about San Diego and New York Comic-Cons are the big ones over where you are. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it was huge. So I attended that, and I when you attend the workshops, it's such an energy that just brings you right on into the program too. When you got 150, 160 people in a room, and everybody's doing this workout together, and the energy is through the roof. So even more so, it made me want to do this. And then I attended the Baltimore workshop, and then I attended the Chicago workshop. And
you were really dedicated, eh?
Yeah,
awesome.
when the program worked as well as it did for me, I was in. And that's the thing with me. There's nothing that I halfway do. If I know that I want to be involved in something, I'm going to be involved 100%. I'm not going to halfway do it. So I was very involved in the way the program helped me at first. So yeah, I took these live workshops as almost on the job training, if you will, with Dallas leading these classes and whatnot. So
these are the ones. So if you don't mind me asking, so you went to the live workouts, and did you go in? Obviously everyone knows I'm DDP yoga trained level 2 as well. Did you go and get the app and all that stuff as well, or did you sort of focusing on mainly getting making sure you get to those live events? How did it work with you? Because you got access, I haven't.
No, I had the app. I used the app daily, and as I was training,
like we all do. Yep.
Yeah, right. As I was training, even as I was training as an instructor, and even as I became even level 2 qualified, I still even used the app, and all of my students at the time were even using the app. So the app has always been kind of the focus, and the energy is the reason that we chose to go to the workshops. The energy, the people that we met, the first 2 were, a little bit of just kind of new getting into this kind of deal. The third one, I kind of knew a few people, and then COVID came in and shut everything down, right? And so, and then once COVID came and shut everything down, there were no more workshops. Everybody had to kind of get creative and do their own thing. And then hence, that's how I started doing Facebook Live classes. And the Facebook Live classes, funny thing is, it's weird how you meet some of the people. Tina Gaspard, I don't know if you know who Tina is.
I know Tina.
She's awesome. She's an awesome person. So it's funny we know each other. It's really weird you say that. Like you say, do you know Tina? There's so many people in that community that everyone knows us. So they go, oh yeah, he's the Aussie guy, right? He's the guy. You're the Irish. Got the Irish. The Shamrock symbol. Everyone knows what's going on. So it's really weird when you say that. Right. So one day, this is when I was training for my level 1 certification. So I was running classes 3-4 times a day sometimes. So Tina posted around 9:30 or 10 o'clock one night. Never met her, never talked to her, didn't know who she was. She said, hey, could anyone suggest a DDPY workout? And I just commented, sure, have you ever tried howling at the moon? Well, there's no such thing as howling at the moon. Basically, what I was getting at is, if you want to do a class, sign on with me on Facebook Live right now here at 10 o'clock at night, and we'll do a class, And she said, for real? And I said, yeah, let's do this.
Awesome.
And she signed on, and a few other people signed on. And we did that for a long time. We called it Howling at the Moon, where we did a 10 p.m. class. And it was a full-on, what some people would maybe say was sweating and swearing kind of, DDPY class. Yeah.
Yeah, I've done a few of those. When I use the app too, I use those ones. I usually do, with what I do is I use the app as a guide now, because I just do my own workout to suit my own purposes. Not doing phys ed teaching, PE. I'm a PE teacher, obviously everyone knows I've studied phys ed and all those things. I teach the kids a lot of the principles of what yoga and stretching and being flexible within the mind and your body to do, and it's a big thing when you actually you can develop your own thing. I think you and this is where you're going to be going very, very soon. You can see that you don't have to follow anything. You can actually know how to breathe and all those kind of things. Okay, yeah. So keep going with that, mate.
Yeah. So basically, COVID came on. Myself. Okay, so there's a handful of us instructors, including yourself, but rest in peace, Boz.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tom Wallant, Sarah Fortune, probably leaving some out, but there was a handful of instructors that just said, we're going to keep teaching. We don't care. We didn't get paid. We just went out there and we just taught loads and loads of classes. I ended up logging 400 hours of teaching classes during COVID.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, it's a case of look, and that's what I always say. I mean, I'm in a different situation now with what I do, but when I was back in the day, it's all about getting the engagement with what's happening, and it's very hard, especially trying to get it into schools these days. It's really hard to say the word yoga, but then when I said, I think when the cool teacher does it, the so-called, in my case, the so-called rock star with the long hair and plays guitar, and now he's doing yoga. They go, oh, hang on a minute, and it puts a different spin on it. Have you found that as well with the different spin that you put on yourself? I mean, see your energy online and what you do is amazing. We keep it, obviously, we keep a bridge of what everyone else is doing, but your energy has gone up so much. You got that energy that you sort of saw the first time you went to a DDP yoga class.
Well, thanks, man. I like to give that energy back to people also that are attending my classes as well.
Absolutely.
Because I think we all feed on that. They feed on us. We feed on them.
Well, we did one together, mate. So I remember that one. I remember you commenting. I remember the comment. He goes, "Geez, that was intense, man. You're out of control." I remember that. Your energy. This is what me being I call it getting on stage and being, playing guitar and being an MC, doing the village people and all this stuff. That's what I do, and that's the energy I give out. And I mean, it was a great class. I still remember it. It's awesome. It was so
Oh
good.
yeah, it was a fun time, man. It was definitely a fun time. I wish we could continue to do more.
We
but
can. Well, we can. Well, we can. We can at some stage. Absolutely.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. We'll have to get together and do some sort of collab and figure out what we're doing. We have Smitty's run coming up. We'll talk about that later because that's definitely, on down the line. But we can definitely talk about anything you want. But we soon moved from Facebook. We've soon moved from Facebook to Zoom. Okay. Zoom was a little dodgy in the beginning, because there's maybe corporate world used it in meetings, and it was still fairly new as opposed to how people used it and approach it, right? But I was so familiar with being in front of a camera and running with Facebook that it was such a relief to actually have something like Zoom because of what we're actually doing right now, talking to people, and even though we couldn't be together, we're still a species that needs communication.
We do, and I think it's a case of that's probably we know what went on during the COVID times and stuff, but it did open up our minds to say, listen, we're going to try and keep communication, not isolate, and be creative in a lot of ways, didn't we? And we did that.
100%. And with that said, we had, not only did we communicate, but I've made great communication with people from not only from all over the United States, but Canada, the UK, Germany, Australia, Italy. So, yeah, I mean, it was pretty amazing.
How cool is it? How cool is that to say, like, you can go out and say, I just talked to my friend in Canada. I go, what?
Right.
I've got my friend over in the US, near Atlanta. Oh, what? What's going on there,
And and we talked about how, as terrible as COVID was, if it wasn't for COVID, I don't feel like we nearly as much of us would have met, right? Maybe by happenstance, some of us would have met, but nowhere as near many as we met during COVID because we all had to kind of come together. We didn't have our gym. See, when you become level 1 certified in DDPY, because I became level 1 certified right as COVID came in.
Oh, really?
And you go off and you do your own thing in a gym. You're not associated online with anybody and all that kind of jazz. So you're just kind of off doing your own thing, right? So I would have never met Jay in Australia. I would have never met Boz in the UK. I would have never met even Tom, who was only 4 hours away from me, and here still in North Carolina. So
there's so many people, mate. This is where the community, I mean, even the community I'm in at the moment with, talking about spirituality and, I do a lot of work talking about my journey and how I got out of where I got out of and talk about shadow work and all that, which is a side thing. But it's amazing how you can meet these great people, and we wouldn't have met. You're exactly right. We would not have had the platform or not the drive to meet each other.
Right. And one of the best friendships that I've made out of even meeting, someone online, because you meet so many people online that you never actually meet physically, right?
Yes.
So you'll get a kick out of this because of your love of music. I was at a Willie Nelson concert, and I'm standing there just by myself waiting for a friend to come out of the bathroom, and this random stranger walks up to me. He goes, "Are you Travis Mahaffey?" And I look around and I'm like, "Yes."
Really?
He goes, "Hey man, I've done your DDPY classes with you online." I'm like, "What?" So, I had my green Shamrock shirt on. He said he noticed me with that. And at the time I had my curly mustache. So, he said, "I recognize you right from your mustache."
Wow.
So, and his name is Chris High. And come to find out, he only lives an hour from me. And we've become like brothers now. I mean, he's my guy who has hooked me up with my chickens. I have chickens now. So
yes, yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So that's amazing. That's another.
It's amazing. It's amazing. Like especially us being so upfront and out there with what we're doing. and we're progressively getting growth and getting better and developing where we're supposed to be. We've got the the stages of life. Like, I wouldn't even thought I'd be talking to people about the traumas that I went through, and talk about shadow work and how I did it, which is what DDPY comes in, and all these other things. And then now interviewing, I mean, I would never have thought I started the interview process, doing the interviewing, which I did, how I started was talking to a friend of mine in England, Cortez Medford. Love you, Batman. This all started, done life theories, nearly 50 episodes, and then now me and my partner Jackie, my co-host on the 1111 Spiritual Transit podcast, is about our spiritual awakenings. I would never ever have thought I've been doing nearly 70 episodes. Like, geez, that's wow.
Mm-hmm.
But then, but anyway, enough about me, mate. It's all about you now. So you went from, so you met this, so you've gone to COVID. Now, where did you go from there? So you got that, so you're at that point where we're coming out of COVID and you're going to go and do classes again. So take it from there.
So at that point, we really had to pivot in my training, to be honest with you, because at that moment we were, to put it bluntly, we were no longer allowed to teach DDPY over Zoom online. So at that time, all of my students had been online because the gym that I was teaching at previously had shut down for COVID and just never reopened. They closed their business.
Right.
Yeah. So there was nowhere for me to go. So we continued to build the relationship with the students that I had, and I, as well as I just said about COVID a minute ago, you can take something and focus on the negative. But what I did is I looked at it as, in the end, a positive, because what I did was I expanded my practice. I went through, Lucas Rockwood has Yoga Body, and he has a great program. He has a great philosophy. He approaches things from a scientific base as well, which makes it a little easier.
So excuse me if I'm not looking at the camera. So because I'm going to put these up on our thing. So who was that one name, mate?
Lucas Rockwood.
Yep. Rockwood. Okay.
And he's Yoga Body. One word, Yoga Body.
Yep. No worries. All right. That's all I need to do. Because what I'll do is I'll put them up during the interview so people can see, so they can follow it up.
Yeah. And then, of course, as you know, Brian Kest. I went through Brian Kest teacher training, and
how do you spell Kest?
Kest.
Kest. Right, gotcha. Yep. Cool.
And actually, Brian Kest's power yoga training was the eye opener that really just centered me into my practice, and
right,
because his philosophy is a philosophy that we all need to hear, and it approaches it from the mental aspect of it, right?
Okay.
And that's the first time where I started approaching things differently, instead of from just an aggressive how I look approach, so it was more of a how I feel approach.
So you went down into, it was a spiritual, it's sort of like a spiritual awakening in where you look more than what's happening on the outside. You're really looking deep into inside. So how you can apply, like I apply DDPY obviously and all the spiritual practices that I do, but also apply it where, these moves and principles have been, thousands of years in the making. But it's not just about the physical, it's about how you structure up in whole body, really, body, mind, spirit, and I always say shadow as well.
Right. And one of the things is being kind to yourself and being gentle to yourself. That's a very important thing. And one of the things that Brian talks the most of is treating humility like we treat a bicep, right? Or our quads. If we work on humility as it's a muscle, we'll be a little more kind and gentle to ourselves, and our practice may be a little different in that aspect. It leaves out the whole rat race of, can I do this? Can I do that? And it's not about that. And I I have come such a full circle in how I approach being on the mat now, and it's so refreshing to have so many different types of influences, and then you can take all of those influences that work for you and put them on in your practice and how you want to approach it to your students. And a couple of the cool, you know, one of the most exciting things that you can hear from an instructor is how something has worked for your students outside of practice, right?
Absolutely, yes.
And just the other day, one of my students told me she came in and her mother was excited, started to go into a little panic attack at the dentist. And we go through a breathing practice in our flexibility class. This is through Lucas Rockwood. It's a 4-8 breathing pattern. So you inhale through your nose for a 4 count, and then you exhale through your mouth for an 8 count. Basically, you're doubling the exhale, and you're activating your parasympathetic nervous system. And she told me that within just a few breaths, her mom calmed down. And I said, there you go. That's exactly why we do what we do. If it helps somebody and you can hear that, then that's good stuff.
It's like living your purpose there, Trav. I can see that, you've gone through the point. And I mean, a lot of people ask, how do you find your purpose? I think you just got to get on your journey and go with the flow and trust what's happening. If you get something in, as you said to you went and moved, you had a feeling to move from DDPY to these ones, whatever the reason may be, but you moved on, but you walked and you found yourself in this beautiful space now that you've got all this knowledge. You're thankful for all the knowledge, and this is where your purpose is. This is at this point of time, this is your purpose in life.
Right. So I even was teaching out of my living room for probably a year to a year and a half.
Right.
Yeah. So then randomly, I'm on this local yoga community group, right? And it's the local towns in the area. And this massage studio put out a message. They were looking for a yoga instructor. So I reached out to her. I came out and there was a small interest of a few people that wanted, not many. But the problem was the space. The space was very limited. So we had 4 people, and that was max. And we were in the front of this area where some people were walking through the business. But these 4 people stuck with me, right? And the massage studio changed locations. And when they changed locations, we still came with them. The place was just as small as we were in the other location. However, there was a basement. There is a basement. The basement looked like no one's been down there in 40 years. It was stuffed full of junk.
Something like a horror movie.
It looked like a horror movie. I'll send you some pictures later. So I walked down there, and of course, probably most males have this kind of attitude, but I walked down and I said, I don't see it. And Annette, the owner of the massage studio, she says, you have to just visualize it, right? So
give it a chance. We have to give everything a chance. If you're drawn to something, I'm learning this right now. If you're drawn to something and you flow and you go, why am I here? Why have I come here? You got to give it a chance to prove, not to prove itself, but give it a chance to resonate with you, I think.
Yeah. So with the help of a very good friend of mine, he does commercial flooring. So he came in and they stripped the floor. There's a concrete floor. They stripped the floor down, redid the floor. It's a polyurethane, antimicrobacterial flooring that will never have to be touched again as long as I take good care of it. They painted the walls for me. Everything looks gorgeous down there. I put a few different lights in there. I'm still working on a few things, but we run our regular classes down there. I could probably pack 15 to 20 people down there if I had to. We normally have about 7 people down there at night.
That's awesome. This is the thing, ladies and gentlemen. When you look at it, I mean, we're all the energy coming off. You can see, you can feel it from the TV, from where Trav's doing. He's gone to where he's done this journey, and he's found at this present stage this is his purpose in life, and it's gonna grow, you know. And they say to you, what is your purpose? What's going on? Well, this is where you're at, you know. And you just got to sort of go and understand that this is where the universe is sending you. This is, you know, this is part one, part two, off you go, and then things will come. We've got about 4.5 minutes, mate, and then we'll have a break and we'll go to the next part. So keep on going. You're down in this basement that's now got, that is your shrine.
It is my shrine. It is my shrine, and I absolutely love it. I think it's a perfect spot for us. As a matter of fact, the massage studio is called the Massage Spot. So I call our place, since it's Shamrock Fitness, I call it the Shamrock Spot. So I just refer to it as the Shamrock Spot, and this is where we're at. So I've even extended. So now what I've even done more so was I've gone out to a local hot studio, and I've just been a student for the longest time. I've just been a student in there, you know, and I've gotten to know the managers, and the managers recommended the owner and I get in touch with each other. And over that time, I started subbing in some hot yoga classes, and now I have 2 days a week where I actually teach hot yoga now. So 104 degrees, you know, 41% humidity, and that's just a whole nother level.
I love humidity. I love humidity. I love it. I'll take it any day, man. People think I'm crazy, man, but humidity makes me breathe better, because I know if you look at Chinese medicine, you've got the dryness within the lungs. So you need, I can't remember the herb. I haven't read it for a while. Anyway, when it's humid down here, it's fantastic. Mm-hmm. I swear, this is grouse. I can move, you know. You've got heat going in your body, dryness in the heat. That's why, you know, inflammation comes up, all this kind of stuff, you know. We've got 2 minutes. So what we'll do is we'll cut it off here for part one.
Okay.
Guys, what we'll do is we'll come back for part two in a minute. We'll let everyone recalibrate. It's been fantastic. We're going to continue from downstairs at the hot yoga studio with the great Travis over in America, in the US. And we'll be back very soon with part two. So get ready for it, because we're going to talk about where he's at the moment. It sounds like he's doing some wonderful work. We'll be back in part two.